Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, June 16th, 2019. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many Search for Truth rules given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us. Sometimes we get questions about the terms used in that little introductory process, and there is a recent video, we think it's the start of the current season, where there's about a 5-minute explanation of that. So if you have a question, that's where you could go to find some answers. We have many questions from humanity, but right now the wiser minds above are not pleased with the questions that humanity is submitting. They're saying that people are asking the wrong questions and therefore getting the wrong answers and making a string of mistakes that is making a bad situation worse very rapidly. So in our small community, we've been asking, what question should we be asking right now? And one suggestion that has been submitted by wiser minds above us is to ask how to change the groupthink of all the presences affiliated with planet Earth. And this is based on the fact that there seems to be oppositional defiance to the soul plan everywhere in planet Earth. It seems to literally be in the atoms and also in the astral dimensions above us. And so it's just solid oppositional defiance almost as far as the subtle eye can see. And we know that groupthink matters, and changing groupthink matters. And we only need a small percentage of presences to change their thinking in order to shift the tide of groupthink. So, what now to change the groupthink of all presences affiliated with planet Earth? How can we do that? We're asking up as high as we can. I see that spaceship control room.
That's what I'm seeing also,
and
in a
it's
much higher dimension.
Very much higher. Bouncing. Often that spaceship control room is affiliated with Saul and Isis and their team.
Yeah, that's true.
And we know that Saul and Isis have come in from much higher dimensions. They're angelic presences affiliated with planet Earth. They're come in from much higher dimensions, and they come down as close to planet Earth as they can. And that bouncing look means that they're really in the astral currents, the turbulent astrals that are close to ground zero. So they're as close as they can get, it looks like.
That's true.
What now? How do we change the groupthink of all presences affiliated with planet Earth? Somebody's asking what tools we have to work with. Virtually none, really.
Yeah, that's true.
We have this little YouTube channel. It seems to be the only way of reaching a large-scale audience.
That's true.
And people don't want to hear it, really. Why do you ask?
You know what someone is talking about?
What?
Is Esther Hicks.
Mm-hmm. I hear that voice.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And they're saying, well, Esther Hicks has an audience.
She does.
And then someone else in that same higher dimension room is talking about how what Esther Hicks does is different.
Mm-hmm.
Because that first presence was saying something like, well, with that YouTube channel, why don't you just do what Esther Hicks does? And he might be someone who hasn't been in...
we kind of are. That is, Esther Hicks takes questions from people who pay $250 or $300 to attend a seminar. She takes questions from them and channels answers. And we're taking questions from humanity and channeling answers, but we're doing it for free and on YouTube.
That's true.
We are doing what Esther Hicks is doing. But we're working, somebody says, then what's the difference? We're working with a different group. Somebody else is saying we're working with a different group. Esther has a connection to a group of out-of-body presences who seem very well-intentioned, and they like to help people live to their potential. And so everything is geared toward helping people live to their potential, and that's different than helping people live to their soul plan, to their sacred vows and spirit. And our intention is to change the groupthink of all presences affiliated with planet Earth. That's a very different intention, and therefore it gets a very different connection upstairs. Does that answer the question? Now I hear that same person. What are they saying?
Yeah.
Wait, that's fascinating. Could feel something on my fingers, but there's nothing there.
Fascinating.
All right. What now to change the groupthink of all presences affiliated with planet Earth? They're talking about how Esther encourages fantasy.
That's what they're talking
about. Not intentionally. That is not the intent.
No.
But the way that the messages are worded does have the unfortunate side effect of encouraging people to ignore reality.
That's true.
And degenerate into fantasy, and that's not helpful. It's also not helpful to feel helpless and hopeless and not take any action. And
that's another presence saying that in the same higher dimension room.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What we have is a group of presences who are attempting to work together. They're angels and godly presences affiliated with planet Earth, and they're attempting to work together to change the groupthink of all presences affiliated with planet Earth, including, of course, humanity.
That's true.
And they're talking about the challenge of getting people into action, and how there seem to be two settings. And one setting is, well, it's hopeless, there's nothing I can do, and so I shall sit on the couch and eat Doritos.
Yeah.
And the other setting seems to be, everything is okay, and so I don't need to do anything, and therefore I shall sit on the couch and eat Doritos.
Yes.
And that the switch seems to flip back and forth between it's hopeless and helpless and therefore nothing I can do, to everything is okay. And both of them result in the conclusion that it's okay for me to sit on the couch and eat Doritos. And there doesn't seem to be a setting that says, now get up and act.
Yes, this is true.
And that's what's missing, and that it's action time and go time. And that now mainstream scientific consensus is beginning to actually agree with what the angels have been saying for quite some time now. The angels have given us this date of February 2nd, 2020, by which we're supposed to have, as individuals, taken action, and also as a collective, we need to have made a hard change.
That's true.
Almost a U-turn.
Almost a U-turn.
And that as a collective, we don't seem to be making that change. And how to get people into action? What now? What now to change groupthink so that people get off the couch, stop eating Doritos, and get into action to make the change? To act as if reality mattered.
That's true.
And what Esther says, ignore reality, is those presences whom Esther is channeling are trying to get individuals off the couch and into action by saying, don't pay any attention to reality, think of what it is you want to accomplish and get going on it. And that's being misconstrued or twisted in some way. They don't mean literally ignore reality, they mean get into action.
Yes, it's true.
Wishing doesn't change things. Imagining doesn't change things.
No, that's
action changes things. They're trying to get people inspired and into action. What now? What now? What now? To change the groupthink of an oppositional defiant biosphere.
It's really quiet.
It's very quiet. What now to change the groupthink of an oppositional defiant biosphere? I feel popcorn eaters upstairs.
Yes, that's true.
Meaning that they too are basically not in action. They're sitting on the couch eating, in this case, popcorn, not Doritos. But I don't really see that the difference in junk food matters.
That's true.
What now? To change the groupthink of all of us affiliated with planet Earth, regardless of dimension. How can we get into action as a collective? How can we make it cool to be in action for the good of the planet? Dear,
I don't hear anything. Nope, I don't hear
Completely
anything.
quiet.
It's totally quiet upstairs. I don't see the cockpit anymore.
No, I don't
or the
see them
control
either.
room
No.
is really the word I should use.
Right. I don't either. It's quiet though and peaceful.
That's true.
How to change the groupthink of everybody affiliated with planet Earth. Somebody is talking about the list of things that's been accumulated, of things that don't work, and how in and of itself that list has value. And someone else is all in this higher dimension room of angels and godly presences
That's
affiliated
true.
with planet Earth. Somebody else is talking about how that list only has value if it's acknowledged and past failures are adjusted for. And now somebody feels very sad.
That's true.
They're talking about one of these sessions that we did some years ago, and Lady Edith and Leo were
Yes.
there, and Horatio also.
Yes.
It was a room full of Vanovanovs
Yes, that's true.
putting their plans. They called it a war table, and the souls who were affiliated with the host lives were calling it an altar, putting plans on the altar. And that there have been so many plans that had not worked that they kept trying.
That's true.
And that's where we are now. There's so many plans that haven't worked. And what we would like is a plan that has failed fewer than 10 times.
That's true. It's just super quiet upstairs right now.
Are there any plans, any at all, that have failed fewer than 10 times that we might propose or promulgate somehow through our tiny little YouTube channel? Some plans that have failed fewer than 10 times. They keep saying, look, this is simple. It's everybody can just do it. We can do it as individuals. Refuse to participate in bad karma schemes.
That's true.
And quick, get off factory farms. Just stop it. You can stop it on a dime. Don't buy any more factory farmed food.
That's true.
Stop buying consumables. Just stop buying things. Stop it on a dime. That's easy to do. Stop buying things. Stop buying frivolities. Save all that money that you save by not buying meat and dairy and frivolities, and buy solar panels and do it. And actually do it. Just go do it. And you can all do this. That's what they're saying to us. And they're pointing to humans and saying, you can all do this. And you need to do it pretty much now. And they're saying, don't bother us asking us what can we do.
That's what they're saying.
If you're not going to do those simple
things.
things. Those are very simple. And stop taking drugs, stop drinking alcohol.
That's true.
This is really a society of drunks and drug addicts, as best we can tell. And
That's what they're saying in that
that's
higher
what they're
dimension
saying.
room.
And that's really disturbing. And somebody says sex addicts.
That's true. I
Drug
hear that other
addicts, sex
presence.
addicts, alcoholics, addicts. So choose your addictions wisely. Choose to be addicted to exercise and water and meditation
That's true.
and service. Choose to
That's
be addicted to
true.
volunteerism. For whom is the message, and why do you ask? Does this answer the question? Somebody else is saying, nobody's going to buy that message. And somebody else is saying, that explains why Esther Hicks gives out her message. Because
That's what they're
people will
talking
buy her
about.
message and they don't want to buy this message. And that's fine.
That's fine.
It's okay.
Someone in that higher dimension room is drawing a line between the Esther Hicks message of you can just imagine that things are okay and things will be okay, And this image that was sent to us by a student who's working with the refugees on the Mexican-United States border. And the student went to volunteer at this shelter and saw a man and his daughter, who's maybe a teenager and appears to have cerebral palsy, and the daughter was sleeping on the cot, and which means either this young woman with cerebral palsy walked from Central America to the United States border
with cerebral palsy, or her father carried her for the parts on foot from Central America to the United States border. People are going to say that the student is unqualified to make the assessment of cerebral palsy, but the student is a physical therapist.
That's an important point.
She's a physical therapist. That's her occupation.
Mm-hmm.
She knows cerebral palsy when she sees it.
Oh, yeah. And the
Go on.
presences are drawing the line between the Esther Hicks message of you can imagine things are good and they'll be good, and this image of the young woman and her father.
And they're also talking about something else that student said at that same city-run shelter, that there was a 19-day-old infant, 19 days old, less than 3 weeks old, meaning that the mother of that infant had given birth while en route from Central America. And this is clearly a refugee situation. This is not immigrants looking for a better life. This is people fleeing something that's bad enough that somebody who's 8.5 months pregnant is running away, and that a father with a daughter with cerebral palsy is carrying his daughter out of there.
Yeah.
That's bad.
That is bad. And imagining that it's not bad isn't changing that it's bad.
No, it's not eliminating the suffering that's actually occurring.
Yeah.
And this other higher dimension presence is talking about how this is occurring on every major continent of the planet.
This is what they're talking about.
That the Central American refugees into North America, that's occurring.
That's true.
The Venezuelan refugees into Colombia, that's occurring.
That's true.
The Syrian refugees into Europe, that's occurring.
That's true.
The Yemeni refugees into the surrounding countries, that's occurring. The
Yes,
Myanmar
that's true.
refugees over the border into Bangladesh. This is all happening. It's happening on every major continent. And we've really got to think about it. Those of us who are interested in God need to consider the messages of the end times, and that this was foretold.
Yeah.
Don't we want to think about this and get off the couch like our hair is on fire, and help like our hair is on fire? Turn around and help somebody. People are suffering and other life is suffering. If you don't care about other life, maybe you can care about humanity. And if you can't care about anybody but yourself, do you want to think about what that says about you?
And that's a higher presence who has been affiliated with Earth for a long time.
A really long time. And saying, and what if the second coming of Christ, or the 22nd coming of Christ, is in a poor Latino walking from Guatemala to the United States? Would anybody even recognize him?